I'm joined once again by University of Central Oklahoma All-American wide receiver Terrill Davis, whose school record broke several school records, helping UCO win their first MIAA championship and a second-round playoff berth. Terrill, thank you once again for taking time to come on and talk to me. I'm going to just ask the elephant in the room here because my DMs were blowing up. Questions, concerns about what the future held for Terrill Davis. We know where we are in the era of collegiate sports. So why did you decide to come back?
Honestly, just my teammates and my coaches, to be honest, man. Like, yeah, it would be easy just to get up and go, but like just, having those type of people around you and just finishing out something that you started is you ain't gonna find that anywhere else, I don't think. So that's a big reason.
Okay, now, see, when I was asked this question, I thought, and you can correct me if I'm wrong here on these percentages. I thought when I was first asked about it, I said there's probably a 65-35% chance he's staying. Then when you put out your highlight tape, I was like, okay, I'm going to move that down to probably 60-40%. Then when you went out and got some NIL representation, I was like, okay, maybe it's 55-45, but I still believe that you were going to stay. And so when you announced it, I'd be lying to say I wasn't relieved. But I felt like all along, just in the time knowing you, that like I don't think he's going to jump ship. So like, was there ever consideration in that, or were you kind of like Montreal, where like after Ferris, it was like, okay, let's make next season even better?
Yeah, my main focus was just how we were going to improve next year. It was never really on leaving. A lot of people in my ear about it, but I never really paid too much attention to it because at the end of the day, it's my decision. So I knew where I wanted to be at. I knew where my heart was at. And so I just stuck with that.
And seeing, you and Montreal and Jack and Jalen and like all the other standouts that could have, quote unquote, saw greener pastures in the portal, decided to come back. What do you think that signals to others about the culture within you all's locker room?
I just say it just show you how close we are as like a family, and it also just shows you how good our coaches are. We could easily, everybody could have ended up leaving, but we all chose to just stick it out for another year. And just those guys like Jack who have a lot of years, like 2 or 3 more years coming up. It just shows you that we're building something for the future, not just for right now.
And now, the final question before we get into it. Now, I would always say, usually I'd be like the lone person in the press box, aside from maybe like visiting media, like the school's SIDs, that kind of stuff. And I would always make it a point, like I would throw it in there after you would make like a big play. I know against like Pitt, I think you had like that touchdown catch in the back of the end zone that was like contested. And I was just like, that's pretty good for a guy that only played 1 year of high school football. And they would always look at me crazy, and they never believed me. Now, I just want I'm like, why would I lie about this? So I know we've gained some new Cho Show family members over here. So just out of your own mouth, you did only play 1 year of high school football, correct?
Yeah, I only played 1 year of high school football. I was just a hooper at first, so football came late for me.
Thank you. See, I appreciate. See, I said that, and I'm like, bro, I asked this man that you can go back. There's a full interview where he explains this. No one believed me, so I had to clear that air. Okay, thank you. Why would I make that up? Now, in terms of this past season, I know I talked to you last off season. You were coming off a season where I think you had almost like 50 catches, about 550 yards, about 3 or 4 touchdowns. You led the team in every category, and I thought really down the stretch, you strung together some really good games. I know you're mentioning how the biggest thing for you entering this past season was becoming more consistent. I mean, I guess this is probably a dumb question at this point, but like, how did you do you think that you did that, and how were you able to consistently string games together this year as opposed to maybe the past couple of years?
I felt like I definitely could have been more consistent this year. I know I have some drop offs, especially during away games. So that's just something that I want to get better at. Just learning how to attack those games, and I would just say like what helped it is better than the previous years is just confidence. Honestly, just going out there and just being confident in my game, and just knowing that I don't work for this. So I feel like that's the biggest thing to help me go into each game. Just not really too much worried about the outcome, just worried about like what my job is on this specific play for sure.
And now you scored a touchdown in the Langston game. I was glad for you and Jacob mainly because I was like, that's fantastic. We can get them off to a fast start. However, I would be lying to you if I said I saw what you did next week against number 2 team in the country coming, because you set the school record, 14 catches, 203, 2 touchdowns. What was working for you in that game?
I would just say just taking advantage of the matchups. We got a great offensive coordinator, so he knows what defense they're in, and if they're gonna play us a certain type of way, we're gonna attack it every time, like we did all season. So I would just say definitely the schemes, and just my quarterback just trusting in me, trying to get me the ball. Like Jet did a great job of finding me and just always trying to make sure to get me the ball. So that was a big thing that game, I would say, to start the season off.
And what did that do for you confidence-wise? I mean, coming off of a game where you set a school record and a pretty convincing win over the number 2 team in the country, what did that do for you personally, confidence-wise?
It definitely boosted the confidence a lot. Just seeing it on film, Like I always know I can do those type of things, but just seeing it in person and seeing it on film, it makes the confidence go through the roof for sure. So that definitely set the tone for me for the rest of the season.
And you mentioned Jet now, because this was only your second game playing with him as your quarterback. How were you quickly able to build that chemistry with him during this past offseason?
I would just say the same thing that our coaches say. They say that games aren't won in the fall; they won in the spring. So just going through that spring with Jet and just that summer, we put in a lot of work outside of the team. We'll go with my trainer and we'll be with him. So the chemistry was just constantly building every time we work out. Like I always want Jet around me while I'm working out. So the chemistry just continues to build, and we continue to do that this off season as well. So.
And then the following week, you all went on the road against Kearney. Now, I know the last time you all played in Kearney, you had that tough loss in that game-winning field goal. And I remember talking to Coach Doyle, and he was saying, like, I think we'll learn a lot because, even in your time in the program, we have not been great on the road. And so when you all went up there, I know that the weather conditions were not ideal. The wind was bad, but you all were able to pull out that win. How big was that win in the moment for you all, kind of getting that monkey off of your back and getting this quality road win?
Man, it was a big win because, as you know, our road games have been not as good these last couple of years. So just going out there and beating a good team was just a major confidence boost for the team. Like we were showing that we can go on the road, we can handle it professionally before the game, like the day before when we go down. And it just, I feel like that set the tone for the away games for the rest of the season. So we was just glad to finally get a good win on the road, and I feel like that definitely boosted the confidence for the road games.
And now, offensively in the game, I was impressed you all still scored 31 points because the wind was definitely howling. And I know that affects the pass game. So offensively, how were you all able to kind of adjust to that and still put together enough scoring drives to get that win?
Man, that's just when having good running backs come in handy, man, because we don't have to throw the ball. So I feel like that game we really took advantage of our run game, and we went into the game. They told us that I think at that time they haven't allowed 100-yard rusher, so that was a big goal for us just to go in and try to get both our backs to 100. So I think that was just a major thing that game was just the running backs, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, and you brought up a good point that I mentioned on that week's episode. I'm like Kearney has a really good defense. I mean, like that there wasn't like you all just went out there and I know they weren't great last year, but I'm like, no, that's a good defense that like at the end of the game, you all wore them down. And I think that was something that was very telling because I saw that against UCM as well. I'm like, we haven't had this quality of depth before, really probably since like 2017, 2018, where like we're just rolling in guys in the secondary, on the defensive line, offensive line, receivers. How big is that for you as a player, though, knowing that like as big of an impact as you might have, or as a Jalen might have, or Jacob, that like when you all go off the field for a few plays to catch your breath, that there's no drop off.
Man, that's major, and that's one thing that our coaches really preach is just having depth, like especially in the offense that we run. Just knowing that the person behind you is just ready to go and ready to come in and do the same thing that you can do. So having depth is probably the most important thing of our season this year. It was just on defense also, just having people that can come in. And one thing I would say that helps that is just everybody's bought in on the team. Like no matter if they're the 1, 2, or 3, they're ready to go. So that's one thing I really seen this year is just everyone's bought in from the 1s to the 3s. So that was a big thing for us, just having depth. Coach Doyle preaches that a lot too. So.
Yeah, he always mentioned that to me. Was every time I'd ask him about it, he would just mention just the quality of depth and like I said, I know some of us thought that was the case last year, but like seeing it against UCM and Kearney, I'm like, no, we legitimately just wore down two really good teams. Like you could see they were literally running on fumes, and we were still, for the most part, I mean, as fresh as you could be entering the fourth quarter of an MIAA game. And then the following week now. I know you only had 65 yards against Kearney. Now, I did not expect for you to have the first half you had against Fort Hays. I don't think anybody there. I don't think Fort Hays themselves did. You had like 200 yards and 4 touchdowns on like 8 catches in one half of football. How?
Damn, honestly, man, the game plan is just everything, man. We seen what they like to run, and we exploited it all week in practice. And Coach Curley told us all week in practice, like this is what's gonna be open. And when we got to the game, that's what was open. So we was well prepared for that. And it was really just a crazy night, man. I'm blessed to have experienced that night. It was fun. So I'm glad that it happened, and man, I'm ready for it again, honestly.
Yeah, and that's something too, because I think that was a win there. You always been 4-0 for the first time I feel like maybe 20 years, roughly 20 years. But to me, what was so much more impressive, you all hung like 48 on a team that held you to 0 last year. So like seeing that 4 games in, I mean, like what kind of was the mindset? Like at that point, was it like, okay, like we have the ability to go a long way if we keep this up? Or was it more surprising of the level of dominance you all were showing so far throughout the early part of that season?
I'll say we definitely came into that game with a chip on our shoulder because of how they did us the year before. So we all had that in mind. The players that went up to Fort Hays and played, and man, just seeing how we could dominate just gave everybody the most confidence. I think that people didn't really take it and get comfortable. I feel like that everybody took it as more of like a wake up call, like, oh, like we really can go do something if we keep going. Like everybody stay healthy, everybody stay locked in at practice and not take no reps off, I feel like we'll really go do something. And I feel like players around the locker room start to notice that, and then you start seeing like uh everybody was already bought in, but then you start seeing like a real from top to bottom buy-in. Like we see that we can actually go do something. So I feel like just getting that win, that Fort Hayes win, I feel like was a big win for us because it was. I feel like it was like a tone setter for the season for sure.
And you mentioned staying focused. I know when I would talk to you all, I like post game, it would always be like we going with a, like a 1-0 mentality. But I feel like it would be easy with the success there for that to kind of lapse. How are you all able to keep that 1-0 mentality throughout the season?
When we go to our meetings on Sunday after the game, Doral always tells us like after we leave the building, last week is over. So like we always get to enjoy it that Saturday night and then that Sunday. But after we leave, it's a 24-hour rule. It's over. So we just keep that in mind. And then I feel like a lot of people on the team really live by that. Like we won't really dwell too much like on that win. So I feel like that was like a big factor for us in the season. And then just like if we lose, like we not gonna dwell too much on it. 24-hour rule, it's the same thing. We forget about it and move on.
And then the following week, you go up to Missouri Southern. And I think what's crazy is this was the first road win in Joplin for you all since 2019. I mean, like it's weird saying that because prior to maybe the past couple of years, Missouri Southern really wasn't thought of, as a player.
Yeah.
And the last time you all were up there was 2022. It was a good game for a while, and then they pulled ahead. Obviously, one of your quarterbacks was the one that led that win. But you had 100 yards to score in that game. How good did it feel to get a win up there in Joplin, even though maybe Missouri Southern wasn't at the level of what they were then, but getting that, finally getting that other monkey off you all's back?
That win was also just a big factor for us. Just the simple fact of just getting those road wins because we know that's just our biggest challenge. I feel like since I've been here, that's been our biggest challenge is just going to go win in somebody else's environment. And Doral told us coming in, I think that was their homecoming game. So he told us coming in that somebody make you their homecoming game and you got to embarrass them. So that's kind of like the mentality we went in with that game for sure.
And then, the following week, it's like, okay, we got Missouri Southern before Northwest, which is very good because ideally we can go up there, blow them out early, we sit you all out, we get valuable reps for the finger guys. And for the most part, that happened, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I remember the Northwest game for a couple of things. Number one, I remember talking to the Northwest media people, and for the first time in my 7 years covering, they believed that we were going to win that football game. And I thought right there that is a testament to how far we've come. Because ordinarily they would probably have lost by 20. But the
Mm-hmm.
way you all beat that team, I mean, I know obviously with the Coach Royal connection, I know you all obviously want to win that game every year. But the way you all win that game compared to say 2022, it was so convincing. What was working for you all in that Northwest game?
I would honestly say I feel like everything was clicking that game, the run game and passing game. And I feel like it's real hard to beat us whenever we clicking like that because you can't stop the run and you can't stop the throwing. I don't know what else you can do. And then our defense, especially when our defense is locked in, like and they not allowing no scores, it's hard to beat a team like us. And just during that game, I feel like everybody just had the same mentality as we had for the rest of the season. Like we were at a point where we weren't cocky, but we were definitely confident that we could beat anybody who come, especially if they come to our stadium for sure.
And in that game, you broke your own record with 15 catches. Now, now I will say after you said it, Ashton was extremely close against Kearney to tying that. And I was like, man, that's kind of tough. Like, you could at least give the man a couple of weeks before you attempt to get the record. And then I'm like, 2 weeks later, you break your own record. And I think they like announced that over the intercom towards the end of the game. What did that mean to you? Not only break the record, but then re-break your own record that you just broke weeks prior.
Man, it was just it's a great feeling always just to engrave your name in the history books. So I just when I hear it or when it happens, I just thank God that it happened. So I don't even think I heard it at first. I don't know if that's the game where you were the one who told me after the game, but man, just hearing that and just feeling that it's a great feeling for sure.
Yeah, I think that was Ian that brought it when we talked to you. I think he had mentioned that. And I remember like that wasn't supposed to happen. Like they weren't supposed to just announce that during the game because I remember Bradick was just about to blow a gas. It's like, no, you don't do that. But yeah, no, and like at that point, I'm sitting there, I'm like, we haven't seen this level of production out of a receiver since JT Looper. And I don't know how familiar you are with what he did in 2017, the type of season that he had for us. I will have you know, at a certain point, he did start to notice because he would occasionally message me and asking, where are you stats-wise? Mm-hmm. And so I know he got pretty nervous there. And I know once you, I think, set that yards record, he immediately asked me, where were you on catches and does the postseason count? So when you hear that you know one of the better receivers in school history that prior to this season had the best single season in school history, to kind of hear him following you along, and then at the end of the day was happy for you when he broke his record. What does that mean to you?
Man, I'm just grateful that he even, keeps up with us, man. So I'm grateful that I broke it. I know it's not what you want to hear. I know I wouldn't want to hear it, but I feel like you just appreciate it at the end of the day that your school is doing good. So
yeah, I mean now I think as long as you don't go after the catch record this year, I think you'll be good.
Yeah,
you got the yards, you got the touchdowns. I think he just has the catches left. You got to. So, but
he got one more catch than me, man.
he did. And I had to ask now, when you found that out that you were one catch short, what was going through your mind at that point?
Man, I remember after the Ferris game, Curly came up to me and he's the one who told me, and he was like, "Man, if I would have known, we would have got it." But I really wasn't bothered by it too much because I just in my head I want to do better than last year, so I'm just ready to, try to do it again. So
yeah, okay. I will have to convey that to him then because he was definitely sweating bullets. He was crunching numbers, and I was like, bro, listen, like, I'm not gonna discount what you did, my man. Like, your name is still in the book. Now, after the Northwest game, you all had a very interesting 4-game stretch. Now, first was the Northeastern State game. Now, I will say, going into that game, I know NSU's record was not good, but I pointed out the fact they had several tough losses. They had several blown leads. Obviously, it's the battle for the President's Cup. So it wasn't going to be the game that if anybody outside of the two schools were to look at it, think it would be good. Now, I did not expect you all, after jumping out to that 14-7 start, to then be down 40-14 late in that first half. When I talked to Montrell, he said there really was no panic there from you all. Like, how was that the case, though? Like, how were you all able to stay calm when everything that could go wrong had went wrong?
I feel like we stayed calm just off the simple fact of just our preparation, man. Like we get Coach Doral puts us in situations in practice just for this exact moment, just down by a certain amount. Like, what are we gonna do? And I feel like just being in those type of situations, just it causes people to have no panic. And then when we are down and we go into the locker room at halftime, and your coach is telling you like, just he said, I'll take the blame for this. He was like, but just bail me out. That make everybody want to come out, and they want to make everybody just go 10 times harder. And I feel like that's exactly what happened.
And then offensively, how are you all able to pick back up in the second half? Just in general, to cut the deficit down, to tie the game, and then to eventually pull ahead in that football game.
I just feel like, man, with our offense, you can never be too comfortable as the other team, because like all it takes is just for us to start clicking, and once that click happens, once we start stop missing the little things and start converting on them, that's whenever our offense is real scary. So I just feel like they got comfortable, and we just we were never comfortable. We're down. We're trying to fight to come back. So it was always foot on gas, and I feel like that just once we start hitting those little things, we start Jalen start doing his thing, Bill start doing his thing. It's hard to stop us.
And that win marked the 10th straight win of which the Cup stayed in Edmond. So for guys like Dylan that have been here for 80 years, I think he was there for like 6 of those. What does it mean for you to be a part of the team that was able to successfully keep the Cup for a full decade?
Man, it's major. I know that game means a lot to our university. So just being able to play in that game and being able to bring it back home always means a lot. And I know the whole team stands on that too. So we all take that game very seriously, no matter their record, no matter our record. We go into that game always looking at it as like a real challenge to bring it back home.
And now, Montrell told me that after that game in the locker room amongst the cheering and whatnot, that there was a select group, him included, that were eating fruit snacks. Now, I have to ask, were you among the group that was eating the fruit snacks?
I don't think I was. I think I had me a Rice Krispie treat. I know they be having them in there. I'm gonna grab one after every game, maybe a couple.
Oh, that's great. I just like when he said that, I'm trying to picture like the joy of the cup. There's a lot of emotions, euphoria, and I'm gonna picture people just chilling at their lockers, just eating fruit snacks. Like that's just a very, I don't. That's just it was random when he said that, but then I'm like, well, I mean, they did it. I mean, they probably are hungry. They did just play games, but like,
Yeah, that's
just
funny.
an odd juxtaposition. I'm like, oh, okay. I mean, whatever works for him, but I'm just
Yeah. Nah, yeah, Terrill funny. I know he had him a couple bags by his locker. So.
And now after that thrilling game, you have to refocus because Pitt comes to town for homecoming. It's originally televised, and the last time you all had Pitt for homecoming was 2022, a game in which you all lost 38-7. How much going into that game did that 22 game stick in you all's minds of like the last time of this scenario where we had momentum, we played them for homecoming, we didn't put our best foot forward, and we have an opportunity to do it again.
Mm-hmm. I feel like it definitely stuck with the people that were here at that time. We always keep in mind, even the last year loss to them was still lingering, but just going into the game, just continuing our mission, not too much worried about them. We know they're a good team, and it's gonna be a challenge always when you play Pitt. But going into that game, man, I just say that I feel like we were very focused going into that game, and it's not always gonna happen how we want to. So that game just ended up not going in our favor.
And now earlier we had mentioned your touchdown, one of your two touchdowns in that game in the back of the end zone. Which I'm not gonna lie to you, I thought that was about to be a pick, and then you come down within the back of the end zone in traffic and make the catch. How were you able to corral that touchdown?
Man, just focus on the ball in the air. Just that's what I always try to do because I know, to be honest, if you're a DB, you really don't got that great of ball skills. So I know that it's a 90% chance that I'm gonna come down with it.
Okay, see. Okay, now I laugh at this because um we know J.K. I think he had 4 picks this year. I'm truly happy for the man. But I feel like he dropped like 4 more. And I feel like there's always that thing of like DBs are receivers that don't have hands. And how
Exactly.
some DBs claim they can play receiver. And I'm sitting there and I'm like, see, I would agree with you, but in times where the ball literally hits you in the hands and you drop it, like that's probably
Yeah.
why you're a defensive back. So like how much flack do you give them when they drop like the gimme pick? I think Kobe had a few this year, right in his hands, no one around him, and he just
Yeah.
dropped it. Like how much flack do you give those guys that claim that they have the hands, but then when the lights are bright, they just drop it?
Man, I give them. I probably talk to them the most out of everybody. I'm gonna let them know because they tell me all the time, like that they could be receivers, but honestly, nobody goes into football probably thinking like, "Oh, I want to be a DV." They probably was receivers that didn't have the qualification, so they end up going to DB. But yeah, especially Kobe. I be on Kobe a lot about everything. No matter if he do something good, I'm gonna still give him a hard time about it.
that's that's tough. Now I remember after the Pitt State game, I remember Ian and I think we talked to you, we talked to Jerry, we talked to a few others, and I noticed there was a stark difference between the vibes after that and after 2022. 2022 it kind of irked me because I feel like a lot of the guys it was more of a jovial mood, and I'm like, but you all lost by 31 on homecoming, and then compare that to this past year, and I like some of your teammates. They were very emotional. There was some tears, some red faces, but there was also some like you and Jet that was like a it just didn't go our way. But like we know there's still a lot left, and we're still a really good football team. How are you all able to overcome that setback and continue to push forward with the winning ways that had transpired prior to that Pitt State game?
I feel like we just kept like our head down the same way. Like I told you, the 24-hour rule. Like we never got too high. So once we lost that game, it was it was definitely like a hard moment for us. But we had to just realize that that's what just comes with playing football is winning and losing. So we got back to work the next day, and after that, we really didn't think too much of it, to be honest.
And then the following week, again, I thought was a deceptively quote unquote bad football team in Missouri Western. Again, they had some tough losses. What I did not expect to have happen though was to turn on that broadcast and see like the worst weather I have seen in quite some time. It was like freezing rain, it was freezing cold. I'm like, well, we're about to have a low scoring game because there's no way the pass game in this condition is going to necessarily work. And I feel like we saw that early. I feel like both teams knew you just stop the run, you can probably get some stops. But we were doing, I felt like, as well as we could have given the circumstances prior to that weather delay. Now that weather delay was about roughly an hour. So I don't know if this was your first weather delay, but like what was that experience like being in that locker room for almost a full hour before having to come out and restart the game?
Yeah, that was definitely tough for us as a team. I don't think that you can really prepare for that. So I think that just going in the locker room, it wasn't like a lull. Like we were in the locker room, we were locked in, but just getting having to go back out and warm up again, that just kind of takes the momentum away. So I feel like it definitely worked in their favor, but I'm just glad that we found a way to get that done though, because it was much needed for sure.
Yeah, and I was gonna say because they came out of there, and I mean they really just took it to you all, and I'm sitting there and I'm like, I don't know. Like, I don't know if we're pulling. I'm looking at the score. I'm looking at the time, and I'm like, math is not going to be mathing here pretty soon. Um, so, needless to say, when Kobe had that punt return, I was like, okay, the math is starting to math a little bit more. And then there was the stop, and then you all scored again, and then there was another stop, and I'm like, okay, we have a chance. But I think I was surprised. Everybody was surprised. I think when Dawson came in there, and now you had a big part of that drive. I think you had to catch to get down to the 2 or the 3, something like that. First, like in that moment, I mean, I'm sure you were frustrated that you couldn't score, but like, how are you all able to with no timeouts get that ball in the end zone in the manner that you all did?
Just a sense of urgency that we had. You know, Dawson, he didn't get as much playing time as he would want, of course, but he was always ready and locked in. Just even at practice, he was always ready to go. So just him coming in and just knowing what's going on, just being prepared for that moment, it just helped us a lot. Just having that leadership on the field, like he came in just running the show. So we're all behind him, and yeah, when you got to get in that end zone, I feel like we just find a way. So, and that's what we did.
Now, okay, I will say now, were you, because I feel like they ruled that touchdown. Well, first, I feel like you all got in on the play before, and then they didn't give it, and I'm like, oh crap, because we don't have any timeouts, and so you get up there, you get set, you run it in there, and I can see Dawson's whole upper half is in the end zone, but there's no call. So like at that point, when you don't see the call, what is going through you all's mind? Because the clock is still ticking. So if they don't give you all this touchdown, I mean, you might not get the next snap off. What kind of was going on in the moment from when it appeared Dawson had crossed that line until they gave him the touchdown?
It was just like a scary moment, just leaving it in the refs' hands. We didn't want to leave it in their hands, so we was really hoping that it got across the line. And once they did rule it a touchdown, it was just like a sign of relief, like we pulled off the comeback. But then it's like you got to get back focused because now we're going to overtime, and we already been out here playing for about 3 hours, like on and off. So you know, it's just like in all our heads, we like, man, we want this to be over. Like we ready to just walk out of here with a win.
Yeah, and that's what I was gonna say. I'm like, because you had the hour weather delay, you had this. Like, how are you all able to keep mentally focused heading into that overtime game? And like you said, I'm sure both teams would just wanted this to end and get in the locker room and get out of these wet clothes.
Mm-hmm. I'll just say like just our team leaders and then our coaches definitely kept everybody like focused because it's definitely easy to just lose focus, especially when you got so much like free time or you know you just sitting around, especially everybody adrenaline running. And just the team leaders that we got on our team just really kept everybody in check and walking around, making sure like when we was in the lightning delay, we seeing like what they were doing that we can improve on. So I just feel like just that was the biggest factor for us. And then once we were outside and it's still raining and pouring, we just had to just push through, and that just show you who's the tougher team, honestly.
And you were able to get that win. Nikki hit that field goal. Um, at that point now, because it's kind of 2 of the past 3 weeks, game have come down to the final possession, but you all were able to pull it out. Did that do anything for you all confidence wise now, going from like, all right, we were dominating people to now we can pull out these close games? What did that do for you all heading into that final leg of the season?
I feel like it made everybody more confident. Honestly, just showing us that everything not always gonna be easy. So we gonna have to have tough games and just learning how to win when like it's not the most favorable conditions. I feel like that helps your team build even more confidence. And so we came out of that game just seeing like we could pull out a win in this type of weather under these conditions. Like we can go win wherever. Like, and I think that was a start of a just that road, or not even a road stretch, but just those couple games that you're talking about is I feel like it was a big factor in our season on showing us like even though everything's not going good, we still got to find a way.
And what was cool about that game? I don't know if you. I'm sure you do. The first game under Coach Doyle was on that same football field when you all lost 35-0, and I
Yeah.
found it kind of cool that the two a couple of the closest opportunities you had to score was Kobe almost breaking a couple of kickoff returns, and here he is in that game scoring on that punt return. So for that group of seniors, I don't know if they realized it in the moment, but kind of like looking back, like how cool is that for you all to get that win on a field where the whole era of under Coach Burrow could have gone south following the events of that game. 3 years later, you all win that game with the opportunity to clinch a share of your first ever MIAA championship the following week.
Man, it means a lot. I know it means a lot to the guys who have been here and even new guys, but just those guys that been here, man, it just feel, especially our seniors, like it feel good just to like send them out on a good note. So like we were just the whole season. I feel like that's one thing we were doing it for, just people that put in a lot of time for the program who's been here for a long time. Just just all of the seniors letting them go out on a good foot, and I feel like we did that for the most part for sure.
And then the Washburn game comes, and I pointed out the better than what the record showed. It was their senior day, so I knew they were going to break out all the stops. And the first half, it was not great, but I mean, I feel like I wasn't panicking. When I talked to Mr. Todd Listenby and John Fitzgerald, they weren't panicking. I was like, all right, if we can just get situated on the offensive line here, we should be good. But that ended up coming down to the wire again. You all won on that blocked field goal. I guess first, when you all offensively really weren't able to put that away late in the fourth, did you all feel in that moment that like you all let the team down? Or did you just know that the defense was going to come up with the stop and have you all's back?
We always, carry a. I feel like just offenses in general just carry like a big chip on their shoulders. So yeah, like not going down and converting on that really did kind of hurt us a little bit confidence wise during that game. But just knowing that, just having trust in our defense and the defensive coaches that they're gonna get a stop, it kind of like helped us come back to reality. So we just put our faith in them, and then they went in just like they put their faith in us, and they went down and they showed us why we can always trust in them.
And you had one of your two touchdowns was on the pass that gave Jet the single season passing record. I think it was like a fourth down, and they threw it to you, and I was like, all right, well, he has the first. I'm like, oh, there's a lot of green, and I think it was Delso out there was just like doing a clinic blocking, and you broke that for the touchdown. What does that mean to you that the pass that gave him that record, um, you were able to take that for a house call?
Man, it just means a lot because Jet, he's a hard-working person, and just seeing him just gain success, it like makes me happy. So I'm just excited to see how the rest of his career goes. If you know Jet, you know he's a very good dude. So it's just like seeing him get successes, it makes me happy all the time.
And when you saw that blocked kick, like when you saw that the kick was blocked, because I was up there in the press box with Chris Brannick. This is my first ever road games. We were in like the left corner, and I'm like, I mean, there's always next. We can still beat Emporia. We can still get a share. But I was like, man, to come this close, and then I see the kick, and I see immediately start going down, and I was like, we blocked that kick. And I remember like the sideline, it just erupted. I think Brennick and I were just stunned. Like it was us two, and then one of the Wasper media people. We were all just like in disbelief. What was it like on that sideline when you all realized that kick was blocked?
Man, it was just pure joy and happiness. Everybody, because I think that was the game to solidify like we win at least a share of the conference. So it was major for us, man. We ran, we tackled Nikki. I mean not Nikki. We tackled the defenders. I think it was Noah West who blocked it and Jalen Cottrell. And we just, man, that was just sums up the season, really, man. Just a whole bunch of miracles happening. So it was a good moment for sure.
And you had 2 touchdowns in that win. So when you look back, what does that mean to you to have such a big impact on that historic win?
It means a lot, man. Always just doing whatever I can do to help the team out. So just doing whatever. If I would have had 1 touchdown and we still would have won, or if I had none, I would have still been as happy. So I'm glad. I'm glad that I got to help out though, for sure.
Now I feel obligated to ask because that was also the game where Jacob Delso forgot his jersey, and I remember being in the car on the way, and Chris Brandon gets a call, and we just hear, "Oh no!" And so we're all like, "Okay, what just happened?" And he gets off the phone, and our great AD asks, "Is everything okay?" And he's just like, "Yeah, Jacob forgot his jersey." And I was like, we played the biggest game of your career, and we forget a jersey. Like, how do you forget a jersey? So now, aside from the fact that it's Jacob, so this is not too surprising. There's different things. But like, how much did you rib this man for forgetting his jersey?
Man, it was more like just a clown session, really, honestly. I was just clowning him. He really wasn't he was mad about it, so I kind of let off a little bit, but I was telling him like, just joking around about his new number. So it was just a funny moment, honestly.
I just, like I went to him after the game. I was like, bro, how do you forget your jersey? And I never got an answer. He mumbled something, and it completely changed the subject. So I was like, but how you just like? I feel like when you pack your bag, I felt like cleats and jersey would be 2 things on that list that you're
Yeah.
going to probably put in there first. So okay, now that's okay. I just wanted to know how that was because I remember Schumann was saying like he was confused that he didn't have his jersey.
Yeah.
And I'm like, how do you forget okay. We it's like what's this mean? Because in the car ride, everybody's just like, how do you forget the jersey? I'm like, I mean,
We were
it
all
is
the same way.
Jacobs.
We were all the same way, asking the same question for sure.
That's tough. And I also remember talking to Coach Doral after that game, and he mentioned that he could tell in the locker room that a weight was lifted off you all's shoulders, and it did seem to me that from that NSU game on down, that it did seem like you all weren't playing as loose. It seemed like you all could tell what was at stake. After that Washburn game, though, like, did that weight indeed lift you all off you all shoulders, knowing that, like, at least regardless of next week's outcome, like, we're still an MIAA champion in some sort, so history has been made. We can go back to playing how it was at the beginning of the season.
Yeah, I feel like it definitely did lift the weight off of a lot of people's shoulders, and for the most part, I would say that we just that was a little stressful stretch of games, so it was just like more of like not having that confidence that we had to start off, and I would just say after that game, it really like, well, we got to share now, but like in my mind, I'm thinking like I don't want to share, and I know a lot of people are thinking the same thing. So that was always the next step. But I feel like it definitely like gave us a little less stress. Like we can relax and try to get back to how we usually play. And I feel like that's exactly what happened.
Yeah, because I remember walking through the tailgate for the Emporia game. I was getting asked like, "How do you think we're gonna do?" And I'm like, "Well, if they play loose, I mean, we should probably win this game handedly. If we play tight, then I don't know." And I was glad when you all came out there and played loose and just put the hammer down early. In which, once again, you tied your own school record with 15 catches, 203 yards, 1 touchdown. Um, were you saddened that you didn't break the record like after the fact? Because like they didn't announce it this time, so you probably didn't know during the game. But after you learned you were 1 catch shy, like did you wish at that point that you would have known, so they maybe could have thrown you, like a quick slant or something, you would have fell down and broke your own record? Or were you just satisfied to say you tied your own record, winning that historic
My
game?
bad. I wasn't satisfied. It's really my fault on why I didn't, because I had a drop. So I couldn't really blame nobody but me. I just went back and I watched that drop over and over. So it was really, I was mad at myself for not breaking it. But, at the end of the day, we won, and that's really all that matters, honestly.
And that gave you your third 200-yard game on the season, which set another school record because no one has ever done that before. So, what does that mean to you to look back and have that record, playing in a conference as good as the MIAA?
Man, that's gonna just be big to look back on, and I feel like that's another big reason on why what made my decision easy on not to leave is just leaving that legacy, and just having something to always look back on, and just being able to be the first person to do that is it's amazing to me.
And when your hands finally grab that MIAA championship trophy, talk about what emotions were going through you at that point in time.
Man, just like a relief and joy, because just doing something that hasn't been done is just feels like incredible. Like we, it felt like we finally did it. Since I've been here, we've been just an average team. So it just finally getting over that hump and doing the things to win is just it makes all the difference. So I was excited, but then again, excitement can only last so long. We get back and we got to get ready for playoffs. So
Just gonna ask because I know I'm sure it was wild times that night, and then the next day was the selection show. And so talk about what that experience was like, sitting there watching it, and then seeing Central Oklahoma pop up on that bracket. What was that like?
that was a cool experience too. Just seeing that I haven't been a part of anything like that. So just that watch party and just the atmosphere and being there with your team. When a lot of teams are getting ready to turn in their equipment, it's a great experience.
And now, because unlike other levels, I mean that game is that Saturday, so like there's no rest, there's nothing. So how are you all able to quickly put behind the historic win, the selection show, and then get mentally ready to go out there again Saturday? And it's a one and done thing now, so like how are you all able to mentally get ready for that game, coming off of that historic and I'm sure emotional high?
I feel like for a lot of people on the team, it was just like natural, because now like I know where my head went was automatically playoffs. Like winning the conference is of course a big deal, but just winning the whole thing would feel even better. So I know for a lot of people felt that same way, and so just going into the next practice, it was the most focused practice I done seen of the whole season, and so I know that's how I knew that we were locked in, and people weren't just settling for a conference. We was looking to win the whole thing.
And the OBU game, you didn't score in that game, but you almost tied your own record again. Well, you had 14 catches for 155 yards. You all win that game in overtime. Talk about what was the feeling after you all got that win, especially after Zane and Hunter got that sack on fourth down in overtime.
Man, winning in overtime is like one of the best feelings ever because like you done played this long game and you're the one to come out on top. So it feels great getting that win, especially I think that was our first home playoff win in a long time. I don't know when the last time was, but it was just a great feeling for sure.
It was roughly 20 years as well. And I remember going to that game, I'm like, I just like, sure, I want us to win the whole thing, but in the grand scheme of things, just give us this one. Because I know, like to come this far, nothing is promised, is guaranteed in MIAA. And I'm like, for the guys that have been here, just let them get this win. And it was looking good early, and I knew OBU wasn't going to go away. So I wasn't surprised. But I remember I went down at halftime because your former teammates, Dante McGee, Johnny Bizell IV, Peyton Scott, Raekwon Wicks were there. And I just remember I went down to say hi at half and watched like the whole third quarter with him. And I wish you could see the look on their face. They had so much pride. Like watching you all play and were telling me like they remember when you all were, like little pups and this and that. And so like when you kind of hear that and when you see that, what does that mean to you to know that those guys are still not only cheering for your success, but also proud of the players and people that you all have grown to become?
Yeah, I feel like that's just a staple of the program. We just create those bonds with those dudes, and they come out and they support us. I text a lot of those guys all the time, so it's just like it's good being around, seeing them come back, and we always welcome back with open arms. We always want them to come to practice, and just seeing those guys come back to the game, it gives us it's like nostalgic in a way because we were just out here losing with them, but now they get to come support us winning. So.
And during the season, naturally as you all continue to win, there was more immediate presence beside myself and besides Ian. Like how did that feel for you all? Because like I don't I've been pounding the table for quite some time. I was during like the whole half of the season. And like I didn't I was happy for the coverage, obviously, because you all deserve it. But at the same time, part of me knew it wasn't genuine coverage because if it was, you would have been there before. I think there was a story like before the Pitt game was like, how did UCO get here? I'm like, what are you talking about? How do we like Chris Brannick sends you the recaps every game? Like you would, so you know what I mean? So like while I'm genuinely happy that they gave you all the coverage. So when you saw that Channel 9, Channel 10, Channel 4 was there. In the playoff game, you had an alum, Miss Raven Ray. She works for Channel 9 affiliate in Tulsa. She made sure she could come to that game. What does that mean to you all, though, to like finally get that media coverage from people outside of myself and maybe outside of UCO related media that you all probably deserved a long time ago?
Man, it feels good, especially for my teammates and the organization. Man, it just feels good them finally getting what they deserve. Like you said, I feel like it wasn't super genuine either because if it was, then they would have been there from the beginning. But I'm just glad that it happened, and we just got to start somewhere. So I'm just glad it started.
No, this is true. This is true. I remember the Washington Baptist. It was weird because normally post game I just go on the field and just find you all, but like because it was the postseason, it was like official, and so like we had to go up to the film room and like they brought out both teams, and I was like, this is cool, but like I'm missing being on the field. I kind of missed that, and I remember because it was like Channel 4, Channel 5, Channel 10, the Oklahoman, and then there was just Ian and I. It was so weird because I'm like, in the grand scheme of things, probably the least qualified people here. And they really wanted to kind of like run through that. And I'm sitting there and I'm like, you all can't leave until Brannick stops this. And I don't know if it's gonna stop this if I keep asking questions. So I purposely turned that along because I know what they were wanting to do. I think OU was playing like later that night, so I know they wanted to hightail it down there. But I think that lasted 20 some odd minutes. I mean, I was trying the best I could to convey to them what they had missed during the season with the questions. So I'm hoping that when they come this year, because they will come. I mean, your whole opener is against Pitt, so I know that they will definitely be there. I'm just hoping they come correct this time. So, but yeah, no, I do, because I know people were wondering, like asking me like where was I after the game, and I was like, well, I had to go up there, and so. But yeah, okay, and then the following week, you had the arduous task of going to play Ferris. Obviously, Ferris ended up winning the whole thing, and again, the weather was not great. You did have a 52-yard touchdown run in that game. Prior to that, you only had like one carry the whole season prior to that. So, were you surprised when they called that run play for you? Like me? Like you want me to run the ball?
No, I wasn't really. I was. If you know me, I'll beg for the ball. So I want it anyway, and just throwing in those type of conditions isn't really ideal. So Curly and Duro, they drew up some, and we just went out and executed it.
And now, like in your brief career, is that the longest run that you've had? Like I don't recall how much you ran it in Choctaw, but like what was that the longest run of your football career?
I would definitely say it is for sure.
Okay. And what was it like playing in the snow?
Man, that was probably the hardest thing I've ever done. It was very cold, but once you get the cold out the way, you got to worry about, especially like, I know it's all positions, but especially like receiver wise, you got to figure out how to stand and get out your brakes, a little bit smoother because it's snowing and it's slippery. So it was definitely a challenge, and that's just something that we had to go through to probably get us further the next time, because we don't get snow down here or places that we play. So during that time, so it was an experience for sure. It wasn't ideal, but that's what you got to do if you want to win.
And so now having not only that experience, but the experience of the whole season now, knowing what it takes to win at the highest level in this conference, how can you all build off that to ensure that this season, isn't a drop? Because I know so far in the past 3 years, it's been 6-5, 5-6, 11-2. So history would dictate then this would be a down year. But how can you all take what you all learned this past year and try to keep this momentum going?
I would just say everybody just continue to just keep your head down and work. Like everybody on the team, we got new guys coming in. We had our old guys leave. It's people that's got to step up and fill those spots. So I just feel like just everybody work hard, and nobody gets people who did play a big role in last season don't get too high headed. I feel like we'll be okay because we still got the same game plans. We still doing a lot of things, and we're just gonna build on stuff that we could have did better last year. So I feel like doing those things, we really can't go wrong.
And you mentioned some of the older guys that are gone. I know Delso and Ridgeway are gone out of that room. So for you now, being one of the elder statesmen, what do you feel like you have to do leadership wise, to kind of make sure that room is as productive as it was this past season?
Honestly, just continue to do what we've been doing. Just continue to uh, communicate and just have that brotherhood. Bring the new people in that's gonna transfer or freshmen, and just bring them along as well. because when you have people that's going against the grain, that's what usually affects the whole team. So just bringing those people along, showing them the ropes, and making sure that they buy in with us is my biggest thing on what I want to do for the room. And then also just leaving them with something, even for the year after I'm gone, just leaving them with, just wisdom, just doing stuff that, other people in the conference or in the country isn't doing to just help you get past that slump.
Now I know after the Pitt State game, you told Ian and I, you were disappointed that they put a safety over the top, and I know I'm standing there and I'm like, I mean, what were they supposed to do? Like, like clearly, and I said this earlier in the season. I'm saying, why is there no safety over the top of this man? Like, what, you don't just let him just do this week in and week out? I appreciate it, but like, I don't understand what's happening here. So, I mean, and even then, I mean, you still had 9 for 119 and two scores against them. So, are you expecting more safeties over the top this year? And when that inevitably happens, will you be as saddened as you were then?
I am expecting it, but as much as I'm expecting it, as much as I'm working with my people to, help figure out a way to make that not even a challenge for real. And then I know my coach is gonna put me in a position to where they can't just do that all day. So I'm hoping they do. Because if they do, we just gonna have something to counter it. So whatever they do, we just gonna do the opposite. So I'm hoping they don't. Though I'd love to just get one-on-one man in the slot. I would love that.
All right, and I'm sure everybody on the UCO sideline would too. But like they gotta try to win the football game. They can't just play you one-on-one. I mean they could, and they did last year, and it didn't work because you finished with 109 catches, 1,609 yards, 15 touchdowns, almost 15 yards a catch, about $125 a game. So I feel like on scouting reports now, it's going to be like, okay, we should probably cover number 8. It's not going to. So I would just expect that to happen more than one game. So I know you were disappointed in that, and believe me, I was too. But I was just like, I mean, it was going to happen at a certain amount of time.
Yeah, I definitely agree.
That now, you obviously, I'm sure we all knew you were going to be first team MIAA, which happened. But were you surprised by the sheer amount of outlets and publications that named you and Montreal All-Americans?
Definitely not for Montreal. I feel like he definitely deserves it. He put in the work, and he was a big reason on why our offense worked how it did. But yeah, for me, I was surprised for sure. It was a surprising moment. It was nice to just get recognized though, for sure.
And how did you learn that you made those teams?
Most of the time, my coach would send them to me, Coach Curley, or I would just end up seeing them on Twitter first.
And when you saw those, what do those recognition does that honor mean to you?
It just really shows just like that hard work paying off. Like that's really all it means for me, man. Just seeing like my hard work finally getting recognized, and just finally, and also just something just to bring to the university. Like I love just like bringing more publicity to UCO. I feel like it's a great place to be. Like we got everything you could want, so I just love bringing more eyes to it.
I mentioned this to Montreal because obviously, in the performance center, right, in the coach's office, there's that wall of All-Americans. Obviously, you and Montreal will be up there. But, like, I was asking him, like, do you feel like there should be, like, a number next to you all's names of the publications that awarded you that? So, like, I don't know, it would say, like, Terrill Davis and then, like, a 6 by it maybe or something like that. Like, but then I'm like, well, at the same time, if someone doesn't know, they could think you were like a 6-time All-American, which
Yeah.
Technically, you were, but like not in the sense that people might think. Like,
Yeah.
how do you feel about like you? Obviously, you're happy to see your name, but like, do you want them to include all the publications that named you that All-American, or are you just satisfied with just the name and then the people that know, knowing who all named you All-American?
Honestly, I'm satisfied with just being up there. Honestly, just seeing that and just always knowing that's gonna be in there is just that's a big deal to me. And just going, and I feel like if you know, then you know. Like it's really all about how much you know about UCO.
Yeah, fair enough. Fair enough. Now, I will say, when I was getting the stats ready, there was a picture on your Bronco Sports page, and I'm sitting there and I'm like, I don't see TD in this picture because it's from 2022, and I'm like, oh, he was number 81. What? What
Mm.
did he? Okay, now how did that? Now, because I think because Derek had that. No, because Derek was gone. No, who had number? Who had number? Yeah, because Derek finished in 2021. So I'm not entirely
That
sure
year
who had
it
number.
was. I forgot who had 8 that year.
Who had 8? Because it wasn't. I don't. I thought that should have been open though. Was it's okay? Hold on. Now I'm curious. Let me, because I have it open. Now I'm curious.
Yeah, I
Who
don't
had
remember
number
who had
8?
8 that year.
Because it wasn't. Because Rob was 0. Wait, was Mike number 8? Maybe, I don't know.
Was Slade
Let
that
me
year?
let me see here. Let me see.
I think he was 8 that 2022 year.
Yeah, it was Michael Slater. Okay.
Yeah,
Okay,
it
yeah,
was.
there we go. Okay. Yeah. Now, okay, because now I now do the jersey numbers, like does that go by seniority on like who gets a pick of that? Like how does that work in terms of like getting jersey numbers if you wish to change yours?
I think it just like goes starters, then twos, then uh, threes. That's usually how they do it. Sometimes you might get lucky and get a number if it's just nobody wants it, but like usually it goes by starters.
And so when you got number 81, I'm guessing that was the best of the available numbers that you had to choose from at that time.
Yes, it definitely was. It wasn't too much left. That was my red shirt freshman year, so it wasn't that good.
And now, because we are in the era of NIL, you are able to have merch. I know you can't really see it, but I'm wearing your
Oh, I didn't even
jersey.
see. Oh, I appreciate that, man. That's
So, what does that kind of mean to you now, though? Like, knowing that that's out there, like people can go buy your jersey. I know, talking to Trayvon Craig when he's over in Japan, something about like how cool it was to see people like in his jersey and like that kind of stuff. What does that mean to you to kind of see that that people now not only know your name but are kind of wearing your gear and that kind of stuff?
man. I just feel like it's big for me because people who really support me can go buy it. People who really want to rock my number, like even little kids, they can go get it. So I feel like it's just a big. I love all the things that's coming out with the NIL. You can have your own merch. I know UCO does a good job at helping athletes get in contact with those people. So I like it a lot for sure.
And before we get you out of here now, how are you feeling? I don't know if you've been following the NFL free agency so far, but like, how are you liking what you're seeing out of the receiver market? Kind of the deals that may be happening, not happening. I know T Higgins got the franchise tag. Um, like, I don't know what your thoughts on that are.
Man, I like it. I think that the receivers are getting paid how they should be. Honestly, I feel like it's one of the most important. It's not the most, but it's definitely top 3 most important. So I feel like that deserves to get the money that they getting.
And now, who is your favorite receiver again?
I be having a new one every year, just whoever play good. I like Jamar Chase though. Like Jamar Chase is one of my favorites for sure.
Now, do you think he gets the contract that he's asking for?
I think he should. He triple crown of the season. I feel like why not? You can't get better than that.
True.
I feel like he should definitely get it.
Okay. Now, did you have a favorite team?
I don't. I don't really watch. I don't watch no football at all. So I've never been a football guy. I love playing it though, but I would say. But I've been. My favorite team recently has been the Texans though. I like what they're doing out there for sure.
Okay. Well, because your fellow receiver Ashton Schuman's a Texan fan.
Yeah.
So,
I know. Yeah, he be keeping me updated still.
Okay. I forgot you. You were a hooper. Now, who was your favorite basketball team?
Steph, the Warriors. That's been my favorite team for as long as I watch basketball. So just watching him play is just like amazing. So that's my favorite player, and the Warriors my favorite team for sure.
Okay, now are you surprised by how smooth the Jimmy Steph thing has worked out for them so far?
Not really surprised. I feel like the Warriors always do a good job at like kind of like building their team around who they got. So it really didn't surprise me. I know whoever we bring over there is going to fit in just well.
Now, I will say, as a Brooklyn Nets fan, I appreciate you all beating us the other night. I don't know why it took you all that long to do that. I just like why are we up by 20? Like which is sad to say because ordinarily I'd be mad we lost the game, but given the circumstances of we have our own first round pick, we probably need to lose. The East is so bad that I think we're still only like 2.5 games out of 10th right now, which is just sad. So, now given the strength of the West, obviously OKC, the way LA is playing right now, do you think though that the Warriors have enough to make a run?
I feel like they do, and I said this in 2022 when they won that ring. I feel like they really do. I feel like you just can't go wrong with Steph. You can't count them out either. Because I know no team want to see them in a 7-game series. So we're going to have to see, though.
Now, who would you want to see in the first round?
First round? Dang, I wouldn't want to see the Nuggets or the Thunder. So give me anybody besides them two first round. I feel like we good.
Okay, fair enough. Now, I think I might have asked this probably when you came on last time, but being a Warriors fan in OKC, obviously, when they had the 3-1 comeback and then you signed KD and you got the rings. How tough was that being a Warriors fan during that point in time in the state?
Man, I was ecstatic because all my friends is Thunder fans, so I was just happy. I was just happy that we got KD. I wasn't even happy about anything else, just so I can go to them and just laugh at them. So I was happy about that trade. That was the best thing that happened.
Wow. Oh my God. Why you gonna laugh at it? But that's tough.
I know they were so salty about that one, but I was happy though, so I couldn't complain.
Yeah, but you gotta laugh at it. I mean, already died. You gotta imagine they just blew the series against them, and then they watch him sign with them. Like they're already going through it, and he just
man.
Oh, that's tough. That's tough. Well, how's the off season going for you so far?
It's going good, man. I can't complain. I've been just training. That's all I've been doing. Just trying to figure out different ways to perfect my craft. Watching film, seeing things that I might face this year, and just trying to figure out how to figure out something to go against it. So it's been good. I can't complain. I just been having fun, just learning.
And I think that was it. What you posted something when you in the weight room, or was it like 3:30 or something like that? I know you were cleaning it or squatting or whatever it was. Talk about like how far you come maybe in that regard from when you first got to campus up to now.
Man, when I first came to campus, I think I was like 165, 170 maybe. And just seeing what it takes, and just having the right people in my ear telling me what it takes to get to where I want to be is just what helped me the most. And so just getting there, and I've seen the upperclassmen, they lifting something heavy, and I'm mad I can't lift that. You know what I'm saying? So I just always make it a goal just to better myself, no matter like if it's on the field, in a weight room, just whatever. Like, and so I take weightlifting as serious as I take the field. So.
And you mentioned having the right people in your ear. Like, how are they able to keep you grounded when given the events of this past calendar year, your head could possibly be as big as Grand Canyon. How did they kind of help you remain level, remain still true to yourself?
I would just say just keeping a bigger goal in mind. When you have the right people around you, they're gonna, of course, like tell you when you're doing good, but they're also gonna tell you that it's something bigger at the end. So I feel like that's them as the right people to keep around you. Just never letting you be comfortable. Like my trainer, he tells me all the time. He's like, you gain the most whenever you're uncomfortable. So he likes to keep me uncomfortable, keep me doing things that I'm not as good at. And I feel like those are the right people to keep around you.
I guess finally, my last question for you is: what can UCO fans expect to see out of Terrill Davis in the 2025 season?
Y'all can expect to see something better than last year for sure. That's what I'm going. That's what I'm gonna leave y'all with.
Okay, I mean that's okay. That's a lofty that's some lofty expectations there, man. Okay. I mean, listen, I'm sure we would all appreciate that. I don't know, JT would, because that would mean that his catch record's gone. So but okay, well, all right, well, TD, I appreciate you coming back on. I didn't know where we fell now in the pecking order. I know, you got, you're all American. I didn't know how in demand you'd be, so I appreciate you making time for us. Man,
I appreciate you having me always.
That always means a lot. And I wish you the best of luck in the off season. I know spring ball probably starts for you all soon, so I hope that's productive and healthy for you, and that you all accomplish what you need to there. And any other time you want to come back on, you're more than welcome to.
Yes, sir. I appreciate you, man. Thank you so much.